The OnePlus Nord. Well, suffice to say, it is a very interesting mid-range that OnePlus just came out with. Hey there people, how you doing? So, today we're gonna talk about the OnePlus Nord. It is not a flagship. OnePlus just debuted their first ever mid-range device, and it's interesting because OnePlus to date have never actually entered that playing field. And this time, out of nowhere, they wanted to make a mid-range device. There are a few reasons, and OnePlus actually themselves explained, but here's a short gist. Well, first and foremost, it's basically been the chipset that's been holding them back. It appears that now OnePlus has found the perfect chipset for a mid-ranger. It seems that the Snapdragon 765G is supposedly the chipset that is now at par with the expectations that OnePlus has from the devices. It is 5G, which is quite a plus side to be honest, and they say that this chipset is going to be able to give a more or less fluid and almost identical smooth experience that you can get from their higher-end flagships, which have the 800 series flagship chipsets. But then again, when you go for the crazy 3D games, well, there admittedly is going to be kind of lackluster, I guess. But otherwise, I'd say that for most people, it's going to be quite an experience, especially with this new chipset that they have. So that is basically the idea behind why OnePlus decided to go for a mid-ranger now rather than any time before. But there are also certain other interesting things, especially with the design, because just 6 months before, OnePlus was actually going to launch this as an experimental device rather than a main-scale device. It would appear that they wanted to experiment with a new, slightly cornered L-shaped camera module, and well, I gotta say it looked interesting. But now, they quite later down the road decided to change it and make it a main scale device, and they believe that they'll sell a lot of them, which is why they wanted to make the OnePlus Nord look like a OnePlus device. And well, their design kind of indicates that quite perfectly, because if you think about it, it has that sleek straight camera module, although shifted to the side, but quite recognizable as a OnePlus device. And most importantly, it has those tapered edges on the sides, which actually not only make the phone quite easy to hold, but it also gives that certain look. Well, for my preference at least, I would have liked something along the experimental side maybe, but yeah, I get why OnePlus went for this rather than something new out of the box. But there is a small little complaint that I have, and far as I've seen, we have no matte finishes, and that is pretty disappointing. And honestly, since OnePlus has like basically one of the best matte finishes I've seen on a phone, I kinda don't understand why they skipped out on it. But anyways, it's okay I guess, but definitely a matte finish would have been the better way to go, especially because they're going to put forward their design ideology. Well, that kind of makes sense to have a matte finish, and we don't unfortunately. Now moving on to the front of the device, well, I gotta say, the Nord has quite a nostalgic flat display. Because if you think about it, almost just a year ago, OnePlus had flat displays on their devices, but now it's all curved. And even from a cost standpoint, it actually makes sense because flat displays are actually a little bit cheaper to manufacture, and that actually makes sense in a mid-range device. So, other than that, they'll also have two front-facing cameras in a punch hole or maybe a pill-shaped design. And well, I understand that having an extra obstruction in the display, well, it's not exactly favorable, but I would actually be willing to go for it because we'll be getting an ultra-wide selfie camera. Yes, it's pretty much the same thing we'll be getting like we had in the Pixel 3, and it's so much more useful. I mean, sure, not having an obstruction would be like my ideal way to go, but if you're going to put another selfie camera, so I don't think anything can top the ultra-wide camera. It'll make taking group selfies a total breeze. As for the rear cameras, it is rumored to have the similar Sony 48 megapixel sensor that we have on the OnePlus 8. That's right, not the 8 Pro, that has a much larger sensor. the 8 has last year's sensor, which is actually pretty good. It's not bad at all, and I'd say that we'll be getting pretty good, decent photos out of this. As for the other two cameras we'll be having, it's going to be a zoom, most probably a 3x or a 2x, I'm not exactly sure, but the other will be most probably a 16 megapixel ultra wide angle camera, which is always a welcome sight. And that's not where it ends. We'll also be having a 4000 above milliamp hour battery. I don't know the exact number yet, maybe 4100 milliamp hours, but all in all, I'd say that battery life is not going to be lackluster in any way possible. Next up, let's talk about the display, and I kept it for the last because it's the most interesting part here. The display is supposedly going to be a 90Hz fluid AMOLED display. Yes, it is going to be really smooth, and OnePlus themselves said that they have focused quite a bit on perfecting the software to have the most fluid experience possible. That, in my opinion, is always a good thing. Having such a good high-end AMOLED display is really going to make quite the difference here, especially for a mid-range device. And if all goes well, I'm pretty sure that Austrian OS will also be more than enough efficient and clean, as we all like it. I mean, it's basically one of the most favored OSs in the planet. And other than that, I guess OnePlus Nord is overall quite a solid mid-ranger. And yeah, OnePlus, if they can manage to tweak everything perfectly, I'd say they have quite a good device on their hands. So that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, do hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will be seeing you guys later. Cheers.